This bloke's bent on the same business. 500,000 people in London go fishing, and for a lot of them it simply means a quiet afternoon on the riverbank. But then these men aren't after just any old fish. Ignoring everything from fish fingers to sharks, they're taking part in an obsessional quest, the hunt for the elusive carp.
A very exciting moment this was, I remember this well.
Oh, that's right, I was starting to shake now, and Jeff kept muttering about it feels like 40, and it wasn't doing my nerves any good at all. I obviously realised that I caught the biggest fish of mine to date, and possibly the biggest I'd ever catch.
The biggest fish I'd ever seen, massive great fish.
It felt very, very heavy.
He was shaking like a leaf and
that's right.
puffing cigarettes.
This is the carp. It's a kind of giant goldfish. It's big, bold and very clever and can live up to 20 years. The Japanese worship it, the Hungarians eat it, but in this country fishing for it has become something of a craze in the last few years. So this week, south of Watford is going to take a look at the curious world of the carp and the people who have become obsessed with catching them. Vic Gillings is just one of the army of people who fish for carp in and around London. The day he landed this mighty specimen, all 37 pounds 12 ounces of her, he reckons was probably the greatest day of his life.
And it was just great, you know, the culmination of many, many hours.
About how many hours?
Oh, it's very hard to say, but most weekends for 3 years on that particular order.
And how many fish had you caught in those many weekends?
That was the second.
The second fish in 3 years?
Yeah.
The carp is definitely, as I say, the most intelligent freshwater fish. It learns quickly, and they're so difficult to catch that those of us who want super specialisation, the challenge of something very difficult, it just attracts us, and you just got no choice. You fish for them, and you can't help it. You know, if you're that type of person, that's it.
The complex of reservoirs along the Lee Valley in northeast London is a popular hunting ground for carpophiles. Over the last 5 years, the number of people prepared to wait by the water for hundreds of hours in the faint hope of catching a carp has steadily grown. But this fat fish has always had its fans, men like Jerry Savage.
I can remember in 1966 catching a 26.5-pound carp from a Dartford lake on, would you believe, a piece of sausage. And we used to use baits like sausages, potatoes, floating crust. I can remember freezing potatoes and drifting the potato out in the current, and carp coming up and taking the potato as it reached the middle of the lake. And this, if you can imagine, it was the most exciting sight, the carp boiling at a floating potato. In those times they used to take floating bread as well. We used a floating sausage, but generally, as I say, we caught a lot of big carp on sausages that were cut in half, lightly fried or lightly grilled. Nowadays, of course, it's become much, much more sophisticated. There are a lot of very, very skilled carp fishermen around. I mean, 20 years ago, you could number the carp fishermen in this country in hundreds. Now, really, it's in thousands. I think it's basically down to the fact that people really want to catch the big fish. And carp, let's face it, they do grow to a very, very big weight. I lost it.
Catching the big, bold carp nowadays involves a range of sophisticated weaponry. Catapults are used to fire pellets of ground bait into the water, preparing the fish for the hooked bait to follow. Electronic bite indicators bleep and buzz when a fish pulls on the line. And there's a whole range of rods and reels in the angler's armoury. Jack Simpson runs a well-stocked tackle shop on the outskirts of London and has many carp fans as customers. He knows they're a race apart.
Carp fishermen as a breed are probably the most fanatical about their sport, and certainly there are some carp fishermen who take it to the sort of ultimate fishing extreme, whereby their whole lifestyle revolves around their carp fishing. I know of one particular angler who actually sold his house so that he could live on the proceeds and go carp fishing for 2 years. Right, This particular blank is 12.5 foot. The real fanatic would perhaps spend anything up to £1,000 on equipment, as much as that. And then, of course, would want his rods made in a particular way. He wouldn't necessarily want to buy the rods as we produce them. He would then sort all the rod rings out, the handle fittings, and everything would be custom made just to suit his requirements.
Have you got some nylon string?
It is their total dedication that distinguishes the carp fanatics from the rest of the angling fraternity. They think nothing of fishing for days and nights, even weeks on end, even in winter. Imagine getting woken up in the middle of the night by a carp bleeping on your bleeper.
It really is great. I get lots of fish after midnight, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's absolute magic. Sometimes you're out there playing fish and you don't even know you're doing it.
You're asleep?
You're asleep.
On your own, curled up?
That's right. Your buzzer goes.
You jump out of bed?
You jump out of bed, hit it, and you're playing the fish, and you land it all on your own 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right, why do you think carp fishing has become so popular?
Haven't got a clue. It's like having a shot in the arm. You do it, you catch a couple of fish, and you can't leave it alone. There's more divorces and goodness knows what over carp fishing than any other sport on earth, I should think.
And you just
sit here, you just enjoy it.
Carp anglers consider themselves the elite of the fishing world. Most of them started off catching small fish in the local river or pond, but soon realised that what they really wanted was a much bigger challenge.
Well, I graduated up through catching small fish, going out match fishing, catching bleak and gudgeon. And one day I see a guy catching carp. He was sitting there trying to catch carp, should I say. And in the end he caught one, and I thought, it's a fantastic thing. It was unbelievable what he caught. It was only about £7, and after that I was hooked. And I went out and bought myself a rod, a reel that was heavier, that I could use for carp, and went carp fishing. I didn't catch one for about 2 years.
Have you had a nibble?
No, nothing at all today. Very quiet.
And has this depressed you in any way?
Oh no, not at all.
If you don't get a bite, will you go home unhappy?
No, never go home. If I go home unhappy, I might as well give it up.
But not everyone was out of luck. Blanking, they call it in carp jargon.
What bait was that one, Blake?
Furry one? Yeah, fruit flavours.
Another fruit one.
Yeah. And obviously feed quite well here during the afternoon.
Yeah. What's your biggest out there, Lee?
Only 50. About 5 times, about 14 and a half, I think.
That's not bad. Not bad for this reservoir.
Fish, I think, for the reservoir.
Yeah.
Carp anglers always handle their catches with a careful, almost tender touch, and if they thought the hook hurt the fish, they say they'd give the sport up tomorrow.
Probably about 12. Took well inside the mouth.
The fish are out of the water for only a few minutes, long enough for the angler to have a good look and to perform a few rituals, like weighing the fish and taking a quick photograph. It's nothing special, just a picture of a man holding a fish, but it's the only record he'll have of the catch.
£15 exactly. That's a nice picture, isn't it?
Well done, Lee.
I look as a carp as a way of life, really. When I go home from here, I practically eat, drink and sleep carp fishing.
So you don't eat carp?
My wife doesn't like it very much, but so no, I would never eat a carp.
Yeah.
If I see one on a fishmonger's slag, it would really sicken me.
A few people even make a living out of the sport. When he's not out fishing for carp, Kevin Maddox writes about them. He's already published Carp Fever, a fishing bestseller. He caught the fever himself 12 years ago and claims to have thought of nothing else since. In fact, he's always coming up with new ideas on how to catch carp. Perhaps his best idea, or worst if you're a carp, was to introduce a new type of rig. That's the bit on the end of the line. After Kevin and two mates invented the hair rig, the carp was in for a hard time.
After taking the bait into the mouth, the fish feels the main nylon line across its lips and ejects the bait. And we spent thousands of hours trying to think of ways of overcoming this, and we come up with this, what we call a hair rig. Normally you would have the bait on the hook, but with the hair rig, the fish takes this bait into its mouth, like so, doesn't feel the main line, passes it back into its teeth to chew, and then draws the main line in automatically. So you've given the fish confidence when it first takes this bait. It believes the bait is not on a hook. Originally we used human hair from the hook to the bait.
But it's not